Bouncing off that last question, I was wondering if you could comment on a situation that's brewing up at American University in D.C., where a columnist for the AU Eagle, the student newspaper, Alex Knepper, wrote a provocative piece earlier this week about sexual behavior and date rape, and it's caused quite a tempest on that campus, and I think you've been contacted about that. Is that right?
We have been contacted about it, but what we can never tell you is whether it was a third-party contact or the student who's the subject of a potential rights violation. We don't reveal that unless we have permission from the people who submitted the case and it gets far enough. Mm-hmm. But we do know about the case. This is a columnist who writes a provocative column every week. A lot of people thought he crossed the line this past week with some of his comments about when is it rape and when is it not rape, and is there really a gray area as much as people think there is? Does date rape really happen the way people say it happens? A lot of people found this very offensive. The university's paper is an independent paper, so it's not bound by the university to do what the university wants. But that means it is free to make its own decisions. And in a wonderful set of letters from the editor-in-chief, I forget what the actual position is called, something like that, the one who's just about to leave, and a second letter from the one who's just about to take over, they say, we actually thought that this was a provocative piece, and look how much discussion about rape and date rape this piece has generated on the campus at a place where nobody ever talks about it. So we knew that it was going to be offensive ahead of time. We ran the column anyway. We knew that people were going to be offended, but it had the effect that we wanted it to have, which is that it generated dialogue and discussion. People are talking about something that really deserves to be discussed. Whether you agree with this guy or not, he did a service to the university, even if you think he's an awful rape apologist, right? It doesn't matter from a First Amendment point of view what the university thinks, because it's an independent paper. It doesn't matter from a First Amendment point of view what the paper does, because it's not bound by the First Amendment, it's independent. So the university can't punish the paper. The paper can choose to punish the columnist if it wants, but it has defended the columnist. Now, you might agree or disagree. You might say that the campus paper needs to have a certain image on campus, and when there's hundreds of people, however many, saying that you have an awful columnist, you need to fire him, and you fail to do it, you know, you're a bad paper and you should do something about it. Well, that's your speech to the paper, and you should try to persuade them to fire the columnist if you think he should be fired. Maybe you have the opposite position and you say, you know, any good paper is going to keep a columnist like that if he really gets people to read our paper, which no one, you know, I don't know how many people read the campus paper at many campuses. The University of Chicago, it wasn't read so well. Harvard Crimson was read pretty well. But you know, getting people to read the newspaper, that's maybe a good thing. And then maybe they read the article they hate, and then they read a bunch of other articles and op-eds that actually introduce them to more issues that they haven't thought about. So as an exercise of the marketplace of ideas, kind of the more the merrier, but the newspaper has its own interests, and it's up to the newspaper to decide what to do. It's, for the moment, decided to keep the person. The university has no official say in it, but the university, if it wants, can say this is a good article, this is a bad article. Government can do that. So that's kind of how a lot of these cases go. Somebody writes something, a lot of people find it offensive, there's candlelight vigil, there's a rally, right? And people are expressing themselves saying, this is really bad, it shouldn't happen again. That's just what you want to see, right? You want to see people standing up for the thing they think is good against the thing they think is bad and generating dialogue. But what you don't really want to see is kick that person off campus. We never want to see that person again. That idea has no place on the college campus. If somebody ever says to you, that idea has no place in our community, really, they're ideas that just are so bad that they're better off in the regular community than on campus, right? Isn't the campus supposed to be the model for the rest of the country, the model of the marketplace of ideas, where even things that your parents never want to hear around the dinner table, you can talk about in class and talk about, you know, at your dinner table in the dorms or in the dining halls, right? So that's again, a lot of people have the opposite idea of what it means to be in college. So it's somehow a safe place for them where they're supposed to feel welcomed. Well, to some degree, physically safe, yeah. welcome to the degree that their ideas are completely welcome, everything about them, they're allowed to pay their tuition and not be discriminated against. Great, of course. But if that means all the people I don't like have to be sent away, no, that's the opposite. So that's a long answer to your question, but it was a good question.